Welcome to Stylo's Stories. I'm here to help you relax today. I know most of you use these videos to fall asleep, so before you drift off, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And let us know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Tonight, on Stylo's Stories, we uncover a true Christmas mystery, one that remained unsolved for years, unsettled a quiet community, and revealed a truth no one expected. Case 1. This is the story of The Midnight Visitor, a case that began on Christmas Eve in a small, snowy town and ended with a secret buried deeper than the winter cold. Stay with me. Evergreen Ridge wasn't the kind of place anyone expected mystery. A peaceful town in the Midwest, famous for its Christmas markets, caroling nights, and an annual snow parade that brought everyone together. But behind the decorations and cheerful songs, there were quiet tensions. A local economy struggling, families divided by old disagreements, and a police department stretched thin across a wide rural area. Still, nothing prepared them for what took place on December 24th, 2011, a Christmas Eve that started like a postcard and ended as a legend whispered for years. The Carters were one of the most respected families in Evergreen Ridge. Thomas Carter, a former volunteer firefighter, Linda Carter, a school librarian, and their 16-year-old daughter Emily Carter, known for her good grades and love of photography. They lived in a cozy two-story house at the edge of the woods. That Christmas Eve, the Carters planned a small dinner with Linda's sister, a tradition they kept for almost 2 decades. But Emily had other plans. She wanted to try out for new camera, testing night photography in the snowy backyard. She promised not to stay out long. She didn't know she'd capture something no one else would see. Around 7:45 p.m., Emily stepped outside into the crisp winter air. She took pictures of icicles, the soft glow of windows, and snow falling gently. Then, in one frame, something else appeared. A silhouette, far beyond the fence, half hidden by trees, tall, still, facing the house. Emily thought it was just a shadow or a neighbor. She took another picture. The figure was gone. She shrugged it off and went inside. But later, when investigators revisited those photos, they would realize that moment was the beginning. The family had finished dinner. Christmas music played softly in the background. They were wrapping gifts for the next morning when they heard it. 3 slow knocks at the door. Thomas assumed it was a neighbor dropping off holiday cookies, but when he opened the door, no one was there, just the cold night. A little unsettled, Thomas shut the door and locked it, something he rarely did. Minutes later, it happened again. 3 knocks, same rhythm, same force. But this time, the sound wasn't coming from the front door. It came from the back of the house. Evergreen Ridge was known for occasional winter blackouts, but this one felt different. At 11:04 p.m., the entire Carter house went dark. The neighborhood across the street still had power, just their house. Thomas grabbed a flashlight. Emily checked her phone. Linda lit a candle on the table. Then Emily's phone buzzed. A notification. Motion detected in backyard. Her outdoor security camera, installed just weeks earlier, had picked something up. Thomas opened the app. The screen loaded slowly, painfully slowly. And then an image appeared. A figure standing behind the snowman Emily had built that morning. Still, silent, unmoving. Linda dialed 911. The recording, later released publicly, revealed her voice was steady but tense. She reported a possible intruder. She mentioned the power outage, the isolated knocking, the figure in the yard. The dispatcher assured her an officer was on the way. She said, "Stay together, stay inside, and don't open the door." It would take the police 14 minutes to arrive. For the Carter family, those minutes felt like an hour. While waiting for the police, the family stayed in the living room, illuminated only by candlelight. Then Emily noticed something on the floor by the front door. A piece of paper. Folded once, not there before. Thomas hesitated before picking it up. The note read, "I've been waiting to come home." That single sentence shook the entire family. They had no idea what it meant, no idea who wrote it, no idea how it got inside the house. When Officer Daniels arrived at 11:21 p.m., he immediately inspected the backyard. He found something chilling. One set of footprints leading toward the house, none leading away, as if the visitor had simply vanished. He checked the doors, windows, locks. Everything was intact, no sign of forced entry. Inside, he examined the handwritten note. The handwriting was neat, precise, almost practiced. He asked the Carters if anyone could have been pranking them. They couldn't think of a single name. Then, Emily remembered her camera. Emily showed Officer Daniels the picture she took earlier, the silhouette in the trees. He zoomed in. The figure was faint, but undeniably human. He then compared it to the security camera footage from earlier that night. The shape, height, posture, all matched. Whoever had been outside had been watching the house for hours. Daniels requested backup and told the family to pack overnight bags. They'd be safer spending the night at Linda's sister's house. But as they were preparing to leave, something else happened. As Emily zipped up her bag, she heard a sound. A soft tap, 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 coming from the basement. Thomas insisted it was just the old pipes reacting to the cold, but when he checked the basement door, the lock, which had been broken for months, was suddenly fixed, completely intact, almost new. Someone had repaired it from the inside. Backup arrived, and 2 officers searched the basement. They found dusty shelves, old Christmas decorations, boxes of books, and, in the far corner, a small pile of melted snow on the floor. Someone had been down there recently, not long enough to leave footprints, but long enough to leave drips of melted ice. Then, one officer noticed something tucked between 2 boxes. A second note, same handwriting. It read, "It's good to be home for Christmas." At this point, the Carters were escorted out immediately, but the mystery was only beginning. In the days following Christmas, the Evergreen Ridge Police Department launched a full investigation. They checked weather patterns, security footage, past incidents, local hospitals, homeless shelters, nearby towns. Nothing. No suspects, no matching footprints, no signs of break-ins, no fingerprints on the notes. But then, something surfaced. An old real estate record. Before the Carters bought their home in 2003, it belonged to Charles Hale, who lived alone after his wife passed away. Charles was quiet, kept to himself, and was known for walking the woods at night. In 1998, Charles disappeared on Christmas Eve. His house sat empty for years until the Carters moved in. When Officer Daniels compared the handwriting from the notes to a sample found in an old town file, they matched, nearly perfectly. But Charles Hale had been missing for 13 years. So where had he been? Why come back now? Was he still alive? The case grew cold again until one final discovery changed everything. In 2015, 4 years after the incident, a man was admitted to a hospital 2 towns over. He was weak, confused, and struggling with memory problems. When asked for his name, he gave 2 words: "My home." Fingerprints later confirmed it. It was Charles Hale. He wasn't violent. He wasn't trying to harm anyone. He had been living off-grid in the woods for years after suffering a psychological breakdown following his wife's death. Every Christmas Eve, he tried to return home, to the house where they had lived their happiest years. He didn't understand the house belonged to someone else now. The notes he left were not threats. They were reminders of a life he forgot how to leave behind.
Charles was placed under long-term medical care. The Carters moved the following summer. They never spent another Christmas in that town. The case officially concluded, with no crime committed. But for Evergreen Ridge, it became a legend. The man who returned every Christmas, quietly searching for a home that no longer belonged to him. The Midnight Visitor.
Case 2. We uncover a chilling Christmas investigation from 2017. A case remembered as the Caroler Who Never Left. A mystery that started with a simple knock at the door and ended with a secret hidden in plain sight for almost a decade. Stay close. This one has layers. Hilford Falls was a quiet New England town known for its postcard-perfect winters. The Hilford family lived near the town square. Mark Hilford, a hardware store owner, Janet Hilford, a nurse at the community clinic, and their 14-year-old son Lucas, a shy, tech-loving kid with a passion for gadgets. They were the kind of family everyone trusted, always donating to food drives, always helping with the Christmas festival. But something about their house stood out. Their porch light never seemed to work properly. Neighbors joked it flickered so much it looked haunted. No one expected that porch to become the center of a Christmas mystery. It was 8:16 p.m. when the first knock came. A soft, polite knock, followed by the faint sound of caroling. Janet opened the door. 3 carolers stood there, wearing red scarves and winter coats. They sang Silent Night beautifully, harmonies smooth and practiced. They thanked Janet, wished her a Merry Christmas, and walked down the snowy path. But one of them, the tallest figure, paused. He turned back toward the house for a second, raised his hand slightly, then followed the others into the night. Janet didn't think much of it. Not yet. At 9:03 p.m., another knock. Same melody humming, same gentle rhythm. But when Mark opened the door, only one caroler stood there, the tall one from earlier. He didn't sing, he didn't speak. He simply stood under the flickering porch light, holding a small wrapped box. Mark, confused, asked, "Is this for a charity drop-off?" The caroler nodded slowly, placed the box at the doorstep, and walked away without a word. Lucas peeked through the window. The man didn't join the other carolers. He simply vanished around the corner, swallowed by darkness. Inside the wrapped box was a wooden ornament, hand-carved, old, delicate. On it, burned into the wood, were the words, "Until you remember me." None of them recognized it. They assumed maybe it was a mistaken charity gift. They placed it on the shelf next to the other decorations. But later, when Lucas showed the ornament to his grandmother during a video call, her face changed. She whispered, "Where did you get that? That belongs to the Rowley family." And that's when the story took a turn. The Rowleys were a well-known family who lived in Hilford Falls until 2009, when they left suddenly. The town remembered them for one heartbreaking event. Their teenage son, Evan Rowley, went missing during the Christmas festival that same year. Despite search parties, media coverage, and statewide alerts, Evan was never found. His last known sighting? Singing with the town's caroling group that same year. When the grandmother saw the ornament, she recognized it instantly. The Rowleys used to hand-carve a new ornament every year. That particular one was from 2007, Evan's favorite. So why did a stranger deliver it 8 years later? At 10:41 p.m., the third knock came. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Janet, now uneasy, peeked through the curtains. The tall caroler was back, but he wasn't on the porch. He was standing halfway down the driveway, facing the house, still and silent as the snow fell around him. No singing, no movement, just watching. Mark called out, "Can I help you?" The caroler tilted his head, then lifted his hand just slightly, like a small greeting, and walked away again. Something wasn't right. They called the police. Officer Sarah Marlowe arrived within minutes. She searched the neighborhood, but found no trace of the tall caroler. No footprints beyond the driveway, no group of singers nearby. She checked the wooden ornament, confirmed it matched photos from the Rowley case files, and then she asked a question the Hilfords hadn't considered. "Have any of you ever met Evan Rowley?" None of them had, not even the grandmother. The families never crossed paths. Officer Marlowe suggested keeping the doors locked and staying aware. Then she left to patrol the streets. But she wouldn't get far before something happened. Lucas, still unsettled, set up his old tablet by the window to record the porch. Around 11:12 p.m., the camera caught motion. A shadow. Then, clearly visible, the tall caroler walking back toward the house. Alone. No singing, no box, just walking. He stood directly under the flickering porch light and stared at the front door. Seconds passed, then minutes, as if he was waiting for someone to open the door. After nearly 5 minutes, he finally turned and walked away. But before he left, he did something chilling. He placed a second ornament on the porch, hand-carved, older than the first. This one read, "You forgot me." Officer Marlowe returned as soon as Mark called her. When she saw the second ornament, her face tightened. She recognized it from the Rowley case. She drove to the police station and pulled the old files. She noticed something all the investigations had missed. Every ornament Evan carved had a unique burn pattern, the same pattern now sitting on the Hilfords' porch. But the biggest twist came from an old note: "If I ever get lost, I'll find my way back." Not to home, not to family, but to a house on North Pine Street. The Hilfords' house, The Hilfords bought their house in 2013, but before that, it belonged to an older woman named Gloria Marsh. Gloria was a retired teacher and Evan's favorite neighbor. She passed away shortly after the Rowleys left town. Evan used to visit her often. He carved ornaments in her workshop. He stored tools there. He spent hours helping her decorate. To him, that house wasn't just a neighbor's home. It was his sanctuary. And he promised himself he'd return to it if he ever felt lost. So now the police had a terrifying question. Was the tall caroler Evan or someone connected to him? At 12:03 a.m. Christmas Day, the last knock came. Slow, soft, then silence. Mark looked through the peephole. No one was there. But when he opened the door, a third ornament sat on the welcome mat. This one was cracked, worn, almost ancient. Engraved on the back were two words Evan used to carve on everything: for Gloria. Officer Marlowe arrived seconds later, and this time, she found footprints. Fresh footprints leading away from the porch toward the woods behind the house. She followed them with her flashlight cutting through the cold darkness. At the edge of the trees, she stopped. Someone was standing there. The tall figure, still wearing the caroler scarf. He took one step forward, then collapsed into the snow. Alive, breathing, weak. The truth was
finally about to unfold. The man was taken into custody and later identified. Not through ID, not through fingerprints, but through DNA. He wasn't Evan Raleigh. He was Daniel Marsh, Gloria's nephew, a man who had quietly struggled for years after his aunt's death and had been living on the fringes of town. He had found Evan's old ornaments in Gloria's abandoned workshop and became convinced he was meant to return them. His mind had connected grief, memory, and tradition in a tangled way. He wasn't dangerous. He wasn't violent. He genuinely believed he was honoring his aunt by bringing the ornaments home. The caroling group? He wasn't part of it. He had just followed them so no one would notice him walking the streets. The investigation into Evan's disappearance was reopened. Unfortunately, his case remains unsolved today. But the ornaments he made, the ones Daniel returned, sparked new leads and new searches. The Raleigh family, though heartbroken, finally received the last pieces of Evan's childhood tradition. And the Hilfords, they moved the following year. They never forgot that Christmas, not because of fear, but because of a stranger who carried memories that weren't his, and a message from a boy who never found his way back. Thanks for joining me for another deep dive here on Stylo Stories. The story of the caroler who never left reminds us that not every mystery is sinister. Some are simply shaped by grief, memory, and time. If you enjoyed this Christmas true crime mystery, be sure to subscribe, like, and share. More stories are on the way. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep your porch light steady.